And welcome to another episode of What the Health. I am Dr. Dan, where every Monday night we go live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time to go over the latest and greatest and tried and true health trends in order to help us get healthy and stay healthy for a lifetime. I'm going to give everyone just a couple seconds to jump on here, where tonight we will be discussing germs versus terrain, germ theory versus terrain theory. I know many of us are well aware of what the germ theory is, that these tiny microbes enter into our body and they take over our healthy tissue, and germs actually cause many of the diseases that we suffer from. That is the germ theory, but what might not be very common is the terrain theory. The idea that it's not the germs that cause illness, but it's a weakened terrain or a fertile terrain that allows germs or microbes to take hold. So we're going to discuss that as we go through tonight's episode. So I want you to be aware of that, and we're going to discuss a couple different thoughts and ideas that will lead to the difference between that germ theory versus terrain theory and what we need to do about it. As is all science, science is theory. It is an idea that we take hold upon and we agree upon until it can be proven wrong. When the germ theory first came about, it was really around the time of the microscope, when we could start to visualize these small, tiny microorganisms under a microscope, that helped us understand that, oh, wow, we must be these illnesses that are present. There's a bunch of little microbes, or these small, tiny organisms that are present when someone is ill. So we got to the idea that these microbes must be causing these illnesses. But as we discovered more and more and more, we started to get to the idea that many of these microbes, these microorganisms, are present, in times of illness and in times of wellness. The whole microbiome is now talked about with 3 trillion, multi-trillions of microorganisms that are in your gut and really all over your body. It's been estimated that there's about 3 pounds of microorganisms all over your body, largely in your gut, but all over your body throughout your lifetime. So the question becomes, and this was a question that many philosophers have asked over the ages, but D.D. Palmer, the discoverer of chiropractic, he asked the question: why does, 2 people who go into a work environment and exposed to the same illness, and one gets sick and one doesn't, especially if they're exposed to the same environment? Have you ever been, in your office, especially during a flu season, and someone's coughing, someone is, they're coughing, they're sneezing all over the place, and that illness, that whatever was going around, it starts working its way, and so one coworker goes down, and then another, and then another. But by the end of a couple weeks, you realize that some people got the illness, others didn't. Some people maybe got the illness really, really severely, and others, they didn't seem to get it at all. So if it was the same virus, the same microbe that was being passed around throughout the office, well, what was the difference in each and every one of those scenarios? In each individual, if it was the same microbe being passed around, what was the difference? Well, the difference was the individual, or the terrain that the microbe or the virus or the bacteria was exposed to. And that's terrain theory. The idea that when a virus or a microbe or bacteria is being exposed to an individual, some people are going to get really, really sick and experience symptoms at a very severe rate. Others may have much more mild symptoms, where others may be completely asymptomatic because they have a very healthy functioning system that the virus or bacteria or microbe goes into. It gets exposed to a very difficult or tough immune system. It gets fought off very, very quickly and efficiently, and it completely goes away. The microbe doesn't change in each of those scenarios. What changes is the body or the host or the individual that the microbe or virus comes in contact with. So let's look at it a different way. If you have a dog and, dog goes, you let the dog outside and it does its business outside. And, let's say it's a hot, humid summer day. Hopefully we have some of those coming in our future. Dog does its business out in the front yard. You come back a couple hours later, and what do you notice on the feces from the dog? Maybe notice a couple flies flying around there. So the question becomes, did the flies create the dog's business, or was the dog's business what attracted the flies to the environment? And again, that is germ theory. Do germs create illness, or does the weakened, diseased tissue attract tiny microbes to that environment? And that's what we need to look at, and talk about. Does a virus or a microbe cause disease, or is it a weakened host? Let's look at this in terms of the COVID virus that we're all experiencing right now. No, I'm not sitting here and telling you that I have the cure, because I don't think we've really come across a cure. And that's what scientists in the community are fighting to find, and fighting to find it quickly. But what I'm not hearing enough about on the media and in the higher up, the experts, what I'm not finding and I'm not seeing right now is talk of, well, what can you do? What are you empowered to do? What do you have control over? If and when you are exposed to this COVID-19 virus, this SARS-CoV-2 virus, what condition do you want your body to be in when you are exposed? Do you want it to be overweight? Do you want to have diabetes? Do you want to have heart disease? Do you want to have lung disease? Do you want to be in a very weakened state so that the virus can enter in and very easily take over and have a very severe effect on you? Or do you want to have a optimally functioning immune system? Do you want to have a nervous system that's intact? Do you want to have a very low level stress level? Do you want to have good quality relationships going on? Do you want to have healthy nutrients in your body so that you are functioning at your best, so that if and when you do get exposed to this virus, it's going to find the terrain to take hold in your body very, very difficult, and it's never going to germinate to the extent that it'll ever cause illness in your body. Why is it, again, let's look at the spectrum here. Why is it that some people get very, very severe effects from this COVID virus and do, end up dying? No one's denying that some people will die from this illness. But on the other end of the spectrum, there's a large majority of asymptomatic people that get it, never even knew that they had it, never even knew that they were exposed to it. What's the difference? The difference is not the virus, people. We need to start to understand that. The difference is not the virus. The difference is the terrain. The difference is the individual who gets exposed to the virus. That's where the variable comes into play. And you have control over that. You have the ability to strengthen and create the strongest body possible before you ever even come in contact with it. And the stronger you are, if you have a, healthy lung capacity because you've exercised throughout your life, you have a strong, intact nervous system because you've done what you can from, a mental, emotional, management. You've done what you can to, make sure that your spine is in an optimal, healthy alignment. you eat very good, healthy nutrients, wide range of fruits and vegetables, if and when you do ever come in contact with that virus or any microbe, your body, your immune system is going to be functioning at its best so that you don't have to worry about it. That's the difference. Germ theory, that if and when you come in contact with a disease, you're absolutely going to get sick, versus terrain theory, the change in environment has an impact on whether or not a germ will in fact germinate, will in fact reproduce and spread and cause an illness. That's the difference. And the difference in all the scenarios is the individual who the germ, in this case COVID-19, comes across. I'm not saying that we have the absolute cure, but what I'm saying is you have control over the type of person you will be if and when you are ever exposed. So that's the difference between germ theory, that germs will actually absolutely cause disease, versus terrain theory, the terrain that the germ comes in contact with will determine if and whether or not that virus or microbe or bacteria will be able to replicate. So, again, continue to create strongest, body possible. And we are going to continue some of this conversation as we move forward. Make sure that you are making yourself and being the absolute strongest person that you can be, so that if and when you ever come in contact with this virus or another one, that you are going to have an immune system that is able to keep you in one of the very mild illnesses, or a completely asymptomatic individual that fights it off and never even knew you had it. So thank you so much for stopping by this episode, Germs versus Terrain Theory. I am Dr. Dan. If you have not already and would like to join deeper into the discussion, join our private What the Health group. And as always, we are here to help you get healthy and stay healthy for a lifetime. We'll see you next week.